Okay, you got it up? All right, let's take a little roll call, I guess. This is a special meeting, and we'll call a meeting to order. I was a little late because I've been here and left and came back at Shirley's request. I could call it insistence, but I'll just leave it at request. That just means she's going to help me out with the audit stuff.
Wait a minute, where was that written?
You'll see it.
Oh,
Okay, and then board roll call. I'm here, Tom Leahy's here. Janet's not here. She said she had a business thing at work tonight that she couldn't get out of. Matt, I didn't hear from him, so I don't know where he's at. And he's the one that selected this date and time. So hopefully nothing happened to him bad. So, Larry, you're here. Yeah. Mr. Scalley's here. All right. Diane's here. Mike's here. District accountant, question. That's a good way to put that.
at least.
That's me and you, kid, until we get one.
I know nothing about accounting, okay?
Well, you know how to sign checks.
I can sign it, yeah.
District attorney, we need to sign yours. Did you bring it tonight? Okay, well, be sure and let's do that. We signed, he had 2 checks last month, and we signed one of them, and
Didn't
the
sign the
little
other
one, and didn't sign the big one.
Oh,
So, and then Shirley's here. So, our next order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Administrative announcements. The people both people in the guest house over there can speak anytime they want to about anything they want to. No, really, we've got a special meeting. So the way the special meeting works is we cover only what's on the agenda for the special meeting, and we have 2 topics on there. One of them is approval of what we've got written up for the CPA to replace Tom. Then that'll go into the newspaper early in June, and it'll run until the end of July. So Hans sent that out to everybody. It's pretty straightforward. If you looked at, Tom had a contract with us, and it had a list of what all he was to do and what his job was and all that sort of thing. And I guess he had been doing this stuff for, 10 years or something? Somewhere thereabouts. Those job duties are listed in there. The other thing that's in there is there's certain things that you have to do on a weekly basis or a monthly basis and quarterly basis and annual basis. So we've got that. He did leave us a thumb drive that's got a tremendous amount of stuff on it and some stuff that I don't know how to access. But if we get too far along, somebody's going to need to steer me in a direction where we can get some help quickly on this stuff. I think we can get by, but on a short-term basis, we might need some help.
Well,
But
if it gets approved today, I'll get it out for publishing later today, but then I know some CPAs, I don't know their experience with government work, but I can check and email it to them.
that would be good. I guess the other thing we ought to think about as we go through this process too, though, is what are we doing versus what are the requirements for what we do. The audit process, as an example, that thing has taken on a life of its own for me. Part of it's because of ignorance on my part with what was going on, and then part of it's I can't manipulate around and change documents and all that stuff very easily. I found out one thing though, and that's the old school paper, liquid paper, still works. Still works. I can't find a typewriter though. Other than that, it's all right. So on that first order of business, are there any comments or questions about what Hans sent out to you about running an ad for a CPA? That's for a CPA for this board.
It was pretty straightforward.
I thought it was too.
Just out of curiosity, do we need the accountant to attend every meeting?
They didn't used to have them here all the time.
I'm just thinking, that's a stumbling block. I don't see a great need for me, that's somebody else buying it. You know, I know it's an inconvenience for that person.
Wouldn't it save some money also?
Perhaps saves money, perhaps while in the field a little bit.
I could see where it would help if there's any issues or questions, he would have more direct knowledge of what went on. But you're right.
Yeah.
The treasurer should be his liaison.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't build a church for Easter Sunday, so I don't know why you would, I don't know why you would have an accountant at every meeting.
And it might save some money. I don't know how he does this.
It might make it more attractive job for a different kind of accountant. I'm just saying.
I can, if you all want to, I can change it to, as needed, or as requested, attend meetings as requested or needed. That's what I mean, whatever you want.
It would make sense.
Yeah, Mark McMillan said something to me about that the other day. That's why y'all get him coming to all these meetings, and then he functions like another member of the board.
It's not what he does.
Huh?
In a way, Tom did. Yeah, I agree. Tom, he gave us great advice. I'm not saying anything bad about him, but he did take on kind of a role as another board member.
Well, and if you remember when we talked about the treasurer job back in January, he said you don't have to have somebody that's a accounting background to do your treasurer function here. And that's because when you look at all of this stuff, this is a treasurer's book. When you look at this stuff, Tom put most of this stuff together, right? And he's using QuickBooks, but this is, unless he gave me a login, a password, but I don't have QuickBooks on my laptop. So how can I do anything with that? I can't. I've talked to several people that I know that deal with that kind of stuff, and they said, nope, you're just out of line. So that did me a lot of good, didn't it? So some of the stuff I've been looking for on the audit is probably there under the files that are in QuickBooks. And that's how he's doing some of these monthly reports and all this stuff too.
But wouldn't the intent be there that his QuickBook files go to Mary Ann and she knows what to do with them and formats them and life goes on?
Well, except that Mary Ann said that's not her job to do that.
Oh, wonderful.
Now, we're getting off path a little bit,
Yeah.
but not really, because we ended the fiscal year at the end of September of 2022, and we should have a deadline established that by a certain date, probably by the end of the year, certainly no later than January, we have the audit done.
Not me.
And people have participated. Shirley has sent them her entire book, basically, her secretary book, that goes through minutes of meetings and all kinds of stuff. That's what I mean by I don't know whether all that stuff is necessary to be looked at. Maybe it is.
I'm told that those things justify the expenses
The expenses for who?
that the board made, or whatever. You voted on, like buying the fish, the carp. The board that came up at the board, it was voted on, it was decided to do it, this was the amount of money we can spend. That's documented. So it's not a number that just ends up being thrown in there as we spent this much money for fish. It was board approved.
Well, we
Does that
still,
make sense?
yeah, but what's that got to do with the audit though?
Because it's a justification for that expense.
Okay, well,
There's always, in the estimates, they always had, an expense that was, somewhere $6,000, 8,000 every year for fish. It was fishing, and I happen to know for a fact, the only thing that they were buying at that time was, shad to put into these two lakes.
But Larry, the paperwork that goes along with that, where the board, it came to the board as a topic, it was discussed, and it was voted on and decided, yes, this is what we're going to do. And all that explanation, if you will, gets included with the audit information because it justifies the expense for the purchase. Well, nothing I can do about it. That's just the way it works. I didn't set that rule.
well, that's the point, is that we need to look at what we're doing and how we're doing it. But I can tell you that just dealing with this audit situation here without much help from either the outside auditor or the CPA, that officially his 30 days was up on the 18th. And guess what? That's when I got the last little bit of information that I got, was on the 18th. And then today I figured out that there's 5 or 6 or 7 pages that ain't even there. All right? So they're there somewhere. But, so we need to figure out, I don't know how you could expect a person on this board, you know, say you're a treasurer. I don't know, unless you've got somebody that's got a background like that, I don't know how you can expect them to do what a CPA is required to do. I don't know, you can't, I don't think. So I think you need a CPA. I think we need to think about how complicated have we made this thing. You know, you can sometimes do that. If you got a CPA and he's doing a good job for you, and you know you can add stuff, and you know that's a pretty good salesman, isn't it?
How complicated is this audit?
It's 23 pages. It's not complicated, other than the fact that I don't have the information, the financial information, and I hadn't been able to get it.
Can we see the old audit,
Yeah,
just for curiosity?
sure.
Or email it to us later in the interest of
It's on our
time?
website.
Okay.
There's 5 years worth of audits on our website, but if you wanted to know
Okay.
what it looks like, this is Lake Ashbury Municipal Service Business District financial statements for the year ended September 30th, 2021. And if you looked at the outline,
So it's here under audits, okay.
yeah, it's got independent auditor's report, you know, 3 pages, financial discussion and analysis, 3 or 4 pages, financial statements, statement of net position, statement of activities and charges and net position. That's not about a page each. Fund financial statements, balance sheet, government fund, page, reconciliation of balance sheet of the government fund to the statement of net position, 1 page. Statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, budget and actual. In reconciliation, statement of revenues, expenditures, changes in fund balance of the government fund to the statement of activities, notes to financial statements, and then required supplementary information, infrastructure assets reported using the modified approach. Then it's got an independent auditor's management letter and independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance and other matters based on an audit of financial statements performed in accordance with government auditing standards. But when you look at page 7 as an example, y'all can't see this and you certainly can't read it, but you know, that's numbers, right? That's a statement of net position, all right? Statement of activities, you know, look, that's numbers, and these numbers that are in this thing are 2021. The Word document that I got to, quote, bring up to date and comment on and all that is 2022, but I don't have that page, I don't have that page, I don't have this next page, it's all numbers. balance sheet, reconciliation of balance sheet, same thing, numbers. Then there's a couple of big ones here. This one is fund balance, budget versus an actual, that's basically what we're talking about tonight. Shows original budget, final budget, actual, and whatever that other deal is, variance. All right, so it's not necessarily all that complicated, Jerry, but you got to have the number. Yeah. The other thing is interesting, and I commented on this one time, the time, is we sit here on a monthly basis and we go through a treasurer's report. That's just a cash checkbook balance business, and where did you spend money and what balance, how much money you got, and did you have to move some from money market to normal checking and that sort of thing. All right, but we do this budget like we're fixing to do now, so this does tie into what we're saying. We're gonna arrive at a budget, and then most businesses that I've been familiar with on a monthly basis, the ones steel plants, but at least on a quarterly basis, you had a quarterly report against, hey man, it's not just wait till the year end and say, oh, I guess we'll come up with some numbers now and see how we're doing it. So we need to change that a little bit too. I think where quarterly you get how we doing compared to what the budget was, and then 6 months, and then 3/4 of the way, and then by that time you got a pretty good feel of what your budget. It's going to help you in the budgeting process too. So we're not doing that. But again, this is that page right there. None of that stuff is available to me yet, unless it's in a QuickBooks somewhere. And it probably is a QuickBooks somewhere, but I can't get it out. And you know what? Once it's done, it's done. But that becomes a book that you, in the old days, you just put on the shelf and you don't do anything with it. And that's not really the purpose of it. We should be learning from it and doing some things with it, more than what we're doing. Anyway, so that was the book. Which folder is it? That's Alton's folder. You got the big one. Yeah. Yeah, you are. Okay. So, any other changes or comments about this position, CPA?
So do we need to vote on this or?
That's
for
we're
hand?
just gonna,
Yeah.
Well, I guess we do, don't we, Don? We need to
the change.
Make a motion that we
Motion to approve it
proceed.
with that change.
Yeah, a motion to approve it with the change, yeah. That basically saying, business-wise, we're gonna be running an ad to select somebody and we publish it in the newspaper and got the qualifications and all that stuff.
Yeah. Motion to approve the RFQ for the internal
Right,
accountant.
right. And y'all got one for an external too, but we're not ready to deal with that yet. It could change, but probably not going to. But there's been verbal conversation. I'd rather deal with written conversation, especially on positions like that. So, okay.
So you just need a second
We need a second.
I'll second it.
with the change, the meeting requirement as requested instead of mandatory.
So that would be attend board meetings as requested, which would be number 3A, item F. Okay, I need a vote.
Yep. Any more discussion?
Just point of clarification, please. Because I think I remember from years past, just from attending meetings and looking at budgets in the past, but y'all correct me, were we paying each month pay an additional fee to the accountant to attend, like an hourly rate each month?
That's a good question. I looked through, what I did was I looked through this book and it's broken out by month, and a quick way to and I was curious about that too, especially when I was running into some challenges on getting the budget done, the audit done. So if you look at is it always $250 a month? No. If we had a special meeting like this one, then there would be an additional $150 for that meeting. All right, and it didn't say how long the meeting lasted or any of that stuff. But then when you look at, there's more fees that have been paid, but I didn't try to research it and say, well, what was it for? Was it for preparation of the budget? Was it for
work being done outside of the
Yeah.
meeting. So I asked that to kind of get my thoughts around if we are just bringing somebody in, like we're paying for them for the job, clearly, and then if we're not having to pay for them to attend every single meeting, that we're going to save some money in the budget, and I'm all about that. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I don't think that in a normal course of business that we would want the CPA or need the CPA here all the time. But if you took, like right now, we're talking about a budget. All right. In June, we'll talk about finalizing the preliminary budget. And then in July, we'll do the final of the final. So probably those 2 or 3 months, you would probably want
You would want that.
that person here.
Definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, yeah,
Expenditure, for sure.
yeah. But the rest of the time, I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 0. Okay, now, the big deal is the budget. And I tried to make a few comments at the last meeting, so I don't feel like I need to be the one doing the major talking. We have Janet set it up where with what do you call it? It's Google something or another. It's not. My point is, it's not Excel. So, but it's the same thing, basically. It's supposed to be. And then she gave us an opportunity to put things in as we wanted to and add some comments and stuff like that. So she said she had it updated.
I wish I could make it bigger, but there's a limitation in the software. I can't make it any bigger.
Yeah. Of course, you can see that 2911, this is where the kind of the rubber meets the road. I mean, we're sitting here, my comments is this board's primary responsibility and focus has got to continue to be the dams, repairing the dams. And the major dam issue is the North Dam. If we can get that rascal fixed and get it capacity-wise where if you had a failure of the South Lake Dam, you don't have a failure automatically of the North Lake Dam, which is one of the things the engineers are looking at, then that's what we ought to do. But still, our focus has got to be getting the North Dam repaired as soon as we can. And I gave you some comments at the last meeting that out of this book. You remember this book was around the first of actually it was our first meeting in October of 2022. It's called Phase 1 Engineering Investigation Report. You remember that? And this is on the website. But on page 21 of that, it's got this chart that broke out estimated cost by dam. And this is very, very preliminary rough numbers because they still don't know what the design criteria is going to be and the permit criteria. And so that, to me, leaves us in a position to where we have no choice but to continue with the 2,400. That along the lines of, we still don't have any funding from grants or appropriation request. And so that's, this figure here was 5.6 million on the North Dam. Total was 8.7 million, 8.8 million. So obviously you can go get a loan, a construction type loan, what do they call it? I forget, that's the wrong word, but that's line of credit loan. It depend, even if you get some grants, you're probably still going to need, you could still need to do that. Yeah. So I don't know. I think my opinion is we're premature in backing off of 2,400. But Jerry, go ahead. I don't want to dictate conversation.
I started running the numbers on it, and I separated out.
I think if anybody came to our meetings, they'd understand that we can't come off the 2,400. If anything, it needs to be higher, to be honest with you.
We don't have enough money.
Exactly. We're going to pay an $8 million bill with $2,400. Just.
I mean, you figure out how much money right now.
If we don't get a grant or a loan,
That's correct.
but that, to me, that's pie in the sky. I think we need to go about it as we're paying the whole bill.
That's the mindset.
Right.
Other than, I'm just throwing it out.
Well, Kimley Horn is who was recommended to us in their proposal of Hanson. So we didn't even have that as in our scope.
You got 3 freebies.
Well, you paid for it. You paid for 3, and if any more show up, then you can pay more money. You can get help there too. But I think that the same problem that gets us from a construction standpoint is getting us from a permitting standpoint. And until the permitting and that sort of thing is done, your grant business is going to be very difficult. So, but I put pressure on Brian Wozniak every month about grants and that sort of thing, and he puts pressure on Kimley Horn, and they picked up Laura Wittenborn or something like that, and Kimley Horn did, and she is supposed to be a very respected, high-class person from grants and appropriation requests and that sort of thing.
It's hard for us to allocate, some of these grants require 25% match, so how do you put that in the budget?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Till we have it, we don't know.
yeah.
We're gonna be asked for a lot of money this year, in the next 12 months, on this construction project. I'm gonna see some pretty strong fees coming.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, we'll see by the time this year that we're into is over at the end of September, we will have some kind of clear permitting defined, and that will drive the construction estimates and that sort of thing. You know, obviously, these guys, if you said $5,690,000, you know, they've got a good bit of contingency in here. And, you know, I remember discussing that with them when, after we saw this, because really I thought they were premature in presenting this to us, but they did, and so that's fine. But yeah, but they said, is this thing, you know, you got contingency, and you know, does that mean that you're expecting this thing to go up, or are you expecting it to go down, or what? He said, no, we always shoot high on these first go-arounds, so we're expecting it, short of the St. John Water Management District coming in and saying you've got to be full PMP, then, yeah, totally. So, but I think your points are very valid. You know, you got, we probably ought to look at this as almost two different budgets, you know, the quote tied to the 600 that was there. And we were growing. We had $500 and something thousand in our balance before we got Hanson and these guys involved. Now, I'm not sure how much money we had paid with DeCoy or any other engineers at that time, but we've got, you know, we could spend $500,000 this year with Hanson. The Tracy Woods, who's the dam safety officer in Tallahassee, you know, she sent an email the other day that said that I probably talked about this at our last meeting, but I didn't understand all of it, so what I'm saying now may be different than what I said last time. But originally, the state FEMA grants money for the high hazard dams. All right. The state administers that. Well, the state couldn't figure out whether the dam safety officer group or another group was going to administer that. Well, guess what? They didn't budget for anybody to do it. So their April budget goes into effect, and they ain't got anything budgeted for administering anything at all to start with. So I sent Tracy Woods an email over the weekend and said, look, you know, and she was really disappointed. She's a big supporter of what we're trying to do here. She knows we've got to do something. She knows it costs a lot of money and all that. So what I sent her the note, and I said, look, what can we do to help make sure this stuff don't happen again next year, and when next year is this whole budgeting process going to be? And she said they will be working on it in January. All right. So I don't know, Jerry, I don't know how all this meshes up, but if we're sitting here almost in June and we don't have the permit criteria nailed down yet. So when would you really be able to take advantage of grant money if you had it? Is it going to be this calendar year between now and December? Maybe, but that's probably still pushing it. Maybe.
I mean, it would seem to me that until we have grant money, we just leave it out of the budget. It's that simple. Now, to Jerry's point, I like your thought process. I would like to almost see two columns in this budget where we have sacred 1,800, and we have another 600 that we can use for our, I hate to say routine expenses, but normal expenses. I don't, that may
I
make
would.
things too complicated, I don't know.
I definitely wouldn't do that. I'd leave it as 24.
Yeah,
Because if you say that it's 600 and 1,800, I don't think it'd ever go back to 600, to be honest with you.
no, it really should.
I don't know what kind of expenses, after we get past the dam, then what kind of annual expenses do we reasonably assume that we're gonna have?
'Cause-
Everybody says dredging, but you're not gonna dredge very often.
Yeah, because even going forward, after the construction is done, we need to have a proper maintenance fund and a emergency fund. But it can be rolled back. Yes. Oh, no, it can't go on ad infinitum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Preventative maintenance,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
that's what it is. Preventative maintenance, which has never been done for like 20 years,
yeah, because
15 years.
there's things that are going to get rolled into this that have been ignored for decades, like tree removal. That's going to be a big number.
But tree removal and things of that nature, if you try to let the neighbors know that we're we're going to cut down trees based on this huge tax increase that you're experiencing, that's not going to go over. They've accepted this huge tax increase to fix the dams. Yeah.
But it's going to get tied up in repair of the dams, for
It will,
example.
as long as it's to fix the dams and move that
Yeah,
forward.
'cause you
But if
can't-
you get to the point where we're just like, oh, we've got money, let's just do some tree work, and it has nothing to do with the dams.
Well, let me
That's-
elaborate.
Yeah,
So.
and
you
I'm
can't-
sorry, I just said tree work as just
I
in
hear you,
general.
but you can't put a proper sheet piling along Black Creek until all the trees are removed. You can't put a proper tow drain system in for the dam, which will be required by the engineering people.
And then again, that's all part
So it's all
of the
going to
dam.
be, but this is an education thing where we have to educate the landowner, the lake lot owners, that these trees have to come out because it affects the subsystems of the dam.
Well, and nobody would disagree with that, that's part of the dam. Perhaps that was just a bad example. Just say, hey, we're gonna stock the lakes with beautiful new fish or something like that. That has nothing to do with the dams, that has nothing to do with the extra tax increase. Yeah, the trees on the dam for sure, but landscaping the entryway with new trees or something like that, not part of the 1,800. People don't
I
want their
agree.
extra taxes spent on
Correct.
anything that's not gonna move us forward with the dam.
I'll speak for the fish. Now, the fish, it wasn't a frivolous expense.
No.
The people who live on the lower lake, if we didn't put in those fish, the weeds would have taken over that lake. So the fish were done for the people who live on the lake.
They already are.
Right.
What I've heard Jerry and Diane say, and I agree with it, is I don't think we ought to be looking at it like 600 and 1,800. I think we ought to be looking at all of the expenses, and even if we have something budgeted in a line item in here in our budget, it's not an automatic, it's there on that budget, you're gonna spend the money. That's gotta be handled on a case-by-case basis. And you know, we'll wind up arguing about some of these things before it's over with, and then, you know, you're still gonna come back and approve them on a case-by-case basis, then at some point, it's not worth continuing to argue, is it?
You have about 200,000 to fix expenses. I mean, which deals, part of it's gonna be going on one side, one on the other. But it really matters, I mean, with insurance that we have to pay for, monthly maintenance, which is substantial, mowing, I mean, that's between maintenance and mowing, it's 84,000.
Yeah.
You leave us on net of about 65,000 if we didn't have the 1,800. I don't want to get hung up on the 1,800. I'm just pretending the 1,800 doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We have to live on that 600, and a lot of people didn't like paying that either.
Well, I hear this, you know, from like my next door neighbor. He told some people that were visiting his place, they were playing in the lake, and he told them that, you know, this board's a bunch of jerks, that there ain't nothing wrong with these dams. They're just trying to raise money, take money away from the property owners. So, ooh. So I obviously went over and had a little discussion with him, but anyway.
Well, the north end of the breaks will be in national news.
So I have a question about this document here. It might be trivial, but now, I know there's some lot owners that have combined assessments, but we're saying 445 at 2,400. That is not this number. So I think the first thing we need to do is get the numbers right. It's 1,068,000.
Well, that's the right number.
Yeah.
440, we have one less lot than what we thought we had, and I saw that in the audit numbers too, because it was different from 2021.
So how many taxable lots are there?
445, I think, is the right number.
But not all of them are 2,400.
Or what?
Not all of them are 2,400.
Some are 36, some are 48.
Yes, some of them are not 24, you know? Didn't you have the sheet? There you go. So you can't just take 445 lots times 2,400, is what I'm
This
saying.
lot owner is being assessed at 1.5.
Right.
A lot and a half.
Yeah, we talked about it a few meetings back.
So
How many fractional lots are there?
That's a good question.
so is 1,032 the correct number? I guess that's,
Actually, I think, I'll
I'm
have to go
trying
back
to
and,
start from the beginning.
I think, my recollection of it is, I think if you look at it in total, it actually does equal 445 times 2,400, because I think what you have is, over time, somehow, just over the decades, lots got expanded, but then that reduced other lots. Because some, my recollection is some actually had a fraction that was less than one. So even though it was 2,400, some people are only paying, you know, like maybe 2,000, because according to the county, they have like 0.8. That's my recollection. You know,
Oh, I paid 7.5 and I paid the 2,400.
okay.
So.
Well, I'll just need,
Yeah, I wonder how that worked.
yeah, I'll have to, I remember asking the county about that, and that was the issue, was just that lots have been changed. The boundaries of the lots have been changed by some people over the years.
But we've had the assessment for a year, so we should know what the number is.
Yeah,
Whatever that number is, that's.
yeah. And then we say, okay, the next line, discounts and penalties. Now we know out of that number, we lose 2% to the county. So we should just say what it is.
Penalty?
County tax.
Yeah, it's a tax on a tax. Or an assessment, tax on an assessment. So I'm just trying to be simple and just go straight down the line. And then when I get the interest income, now we know we've improved that considerably here with our bank, so that number can go up. And we're at what, 5% now, or 4?
4.5.
4.5, okay.
Yeah, and your balance available to draw that on is gonna go up this year too, so that interest income should be, I don't know,
Yeah, it needs to be,
40,000 a month, something like that,
yeah.
40, 50. So, I guess we ought to capture some things here as we're going through it, like that, all right? What is a reasonable number for the interest income? And I got some, Carol asked at the last meeting about getting something in writing that showed that we really did have the 4.5%. And I got an email back that showed me how to find it and all that, but I hadn't tried to look on the
Well, if we just,
our
if we,
bank account.
if we called line 9, 2 million, that's 90,000 at 4.5%. But that number will drop as we spend that money. So it's a moving target.
Yeah, and I don't know I don't know what causes the 4.5 to change either, you know?
I think it's tied to the Fed, to the
Yeah,
prime.
yeah, so it'll change through time too. But I don't know how we did that last year where we come up with such a low number. We only had $1,000 in there last year.
So if I put 90,000 and then
90,000 too high.
this
Right now, we have 1.25 right in the bank.
will drop as account balance drops.
Tom, don't we have 1.25 in the bank now? Where are you getting 2 million from? In the bank now, don't we have 1.25?
Yeah, thereabouts.
So where are
Well,
you getting 2 from?
I was just looking at the next line here where the 2 million, because I think that's, well, I'm not sure I look at this if I understand it. I'm assuming this 968 is what's there now in our bank account?
Well, I was under the impression from the last meeting it's 1.25.
Yeah. So it's a moving target.
1.25 not. You know what that is?
So yeah, I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to read, because I guess the question is what do we project our balance to be at the end of the fiscal year? And then we would add on the new revenues at that moment.
Didn't Tom say last time we met that we still had like 800 grand out?
No, we only had like 25 grand,
Oh, 25 grand?
yeah. And so
So we're not getting, our income ain't going up, sans the 4.5%.
for the next several months, it's
Right,
like we
right.
maxed out, we've drawn all we're gonna draw. And so we'll actually see a depletion in the checking account from now until
Okay, so
we start getting money back in in October.
so we got 1.2 in the bank, it's not going up, and we know it's gonna go up marginally, 4.5%, whatever. A few thousand a month, what that comes out to, you know, $5,000 a month, what that comes out to.
Yeah, if we took that number and divided by 12, you're about 7,500 a month if you had that big amount. And then I guess if I go down this thing, I mean, we're not really able to change our salaries and wages and FICA taxes, et cetera, so that,
Yeah, all that should be same
that's
as last
pretty
year,
much
right?
fixed.
Right.
So we can move beyond that one. Same thing with legal. And then when we get to engineering and professional fees, I guess that's the question now
Is that where we determined to go 5% or 10%? Is that what Alton suggested last time?
yeah.
And to me, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I said that last time that we'll draw down 105,000 between now and the end of September. That we will pay Hanson for that second phase they're in. So that will wipe that out.
Is phase 1 paid for?
No, not 100%. It's mostly paid for, but not 100% because there's still some, like the grant business, there's still, I don't know, $12,000 in there. So you could take that and reduce it, that 105,000 that I mentioned, you could reduce that a little bit. And say, no, you're not going to draw it down quite that low, so round it off 100,000. I don't know.
So you're talking
And
about
then-
this one? This, because there's a note here about up from 170. This confuses me, so I don't know.
No, that's 569?
Yeah, 569.
That is strictly taking 10% of the North Dam project from that page 21.
And that'll be engineering and management
Yeah,
fees.
that's 569.
Okay.
I think that's high, because I think once they get the design criteria, then the contingency stuff will shrink some. But,
Yeah, but doing the budget, you gotta base it on something.
yeah, so that makes sense. And
Base it on what the things are.
I saw some other articles somewhere recently. I don't know whether it was in our stuff here or just some magazine or heard it on a news channel or whatever. But the 10% of construction costs, that number has been floated around and other than this particular action group.
Yeah, it's not a bad number.
But you did a lot of projects. And all.
Yeah.
So you could take, I don't see anything wrong. I mean, it looks odd, 569,000, you want to say 550,000, or make it a round number.
Well, I just put a note here that it's 10% of the 5 million value of the contract.
That's where it came from.
Yeah.
I even said it could go to 879, but that would be the engineering for everything, the 8.79 million, and I don't think that's the way we'll approach it.
Yeah, I think we're never gonna have to break this thing up. Yeah, yeah. North Lake first.
Yeah.
Right.
And the North Lake will probably be done in phases anyway, like
Yeah.
do the, pick kettle number 1,
Right.
do it. Pick kettle number 2, do it. Or they may come back and recommend we do the emergency spillway first. I'm fine with that.
And I have no doubt they'll come up with somebody, it'll save us money to do something on
Right.
Lake Ryan, while they got the equipment out here. I understand that, but our focus should be on the North Dam.
Yeah. Yeah, and, well, let's
Yeah,
not,
and that's a good point. I mean, that needs to go into our description of how we're arriving at the budget is based on North Dam first,
yeah.
and nothing on the others yet.
And to your point, Mike, for example, the water lines that crosses the dams and the power lines that cross the dam, depending on the construction approach, that stuff's got to be moved, and that's significant money.
That Hanson take
That's,
care of that.
that will shake out in the planning part of the job. So audit fees, we're hearing it's 10 grand now, but it can go as high as double, you think? Is that? So do we leave that there or try and tweak it?
Is that the state audit?
Well, that's the Mary Ann Majors, the CPA that's certified to do the state audit.
I don't want to call names, but I don't know how you talk about it without calling names. Carl's one that said that this stuff was going to go up. It was going to double. If you looked at the previous year, Jerry, it was $7,000 for Mary Ann. She went from 7 to 10. That's a pretty significant increase, isn't it? All right. Then the drum roll has been beaten about, and it's going to 20, and it's because Alton doesn't do a good job of preparing the audit reports from an engineering perspective. Now, let me tell you something. If you read Mary Ann's emails, and I can show them to you, she has told people on this board and people that ain't on it anymore, she is not doing that. Her job ain't to do our work for us. And it's what she tore me up about the other day when I was trying to figure out how are we going to pull all this together. And she put that in an email writing. So this whole deal is not, in spite of what you might have heard, tied strictly to somebody not doing a good job of writing the engineering part of that audit.
So what would it make sense to, till we know better, can we squeeze 5 grand out of this 20 grand number or leave it where it
Who
is?
put the 20 in?
I don't know.
I do. Shouldn't ask questions I know the answer to. Carol, and I'm fairly certain that number came from Carl. Because Carl was talking 20 grand before. I would not pay somebody, if I'm paying them 10 grand now and I paid them 7 grand before, why would I even think about budgeting double that amount?
I agree. We need to just budget what we know. If it's 10,000 is the number, just do 10,000.
Well,
We have money left over in the year
Call
anyway.
it 12,000, go
Whatever.
up 20%,
Whatever, that's fine.
all right?
The accounting fees. See,
When we have county fees, we already did county fees up higher. Why would we do county fees again? And shouldn't it be?
accounting.
Accounting,
Accounting, not they say county fees.
like I say, I apologize, I can't make this bigger, it's just locked in the program for some reason.
Let's see, where is it?
Once again, we will not know what the accounting fees are because you can't go by last year or even the year before that because we're starting over.
Yeah. I mean, we could. Yeah, we
Until
just leave it
AI
where it
takes
is
off.
For now.
She said, Carol sent a text message.
I can't hear you.
If you go to 100%, it's already increasing.
Oh, right here. There we go. Thank you. That any better? Now I gotta find out where I was. I was up here. Right here. So here's my notes. Hard to say, but I say
She
was
don't- she don't-
7,000.
She said 500. She said 500 a month.
Yeah, most Windows programs, you can scroll it up or down.
Well, that's a $6,000 a year bill. I don't think my tax got that. He's up on the play at CPA. He does about. It's up to you guys. The 5,000 is, that's 40, that's almost 500 a month. And that's what we had in there for this year's budget. So why don't we leave it the same as this year's budget?
So how much were we paying the accountant last year? What was the accounting fee last year?
7,600.
Okay, so yours called 7,500, and we're just assume $5,000 up?
I don't know what's to go, and I guess that if we don't have to have this individual at every meeting, this number could go down, right? Yeah. So,
What I'm being told is a non-accountant background, and you're looking like you understand this stuff. You know, I mean, anybody that understands it, speak up. But from what I'm being told is, if you look at the QuickBooks, it's handling your payroll, it's handling your checking accounts and all that stuff, and once it's set up, then it's minimal hours a month. So if we cut out the finance person being here at these meetings, then, I don't know,
so it was 7,500
it was 5,000
last year, 5,000.
Yeah. That's what the budget was. I'm not
Okay.
sure what the year-to-date is. I was working on audits and crap, and I didn't get to do this. Then I helped Tim Lee open the valves and all that. I mean, I didn't do that. That's against the rule.
Well, I certainly would offer 10 grand and see where we go. You guys okay with that?
I think it's too high.
I'd say go ahead and put it in at first blush, and we got to come back and readdress that, be the first thing we look at.
What do we want to do?
Which one are you talking about?
Accounting fees.
Last year's budget was 5,000, and we don't know if we went over that.
All right, we'll go 6,000 or 5,000?
I'd say 7,500. Tom allegedly has given us a sweetheart deal.
Sold. And I made a note here, it was 5,000 in 2022.
Yep.
And once we have some applicants, we should be able to firm up that number.
For the audit fees, what you doing it? It was 10,125?
Isn't the other fee 15,000?
No, it's 10,125. Matter of fact, I've already got an invoice due when we have our June meeting, June the 4th or whenever it is.
Okay, if you're saying it's two separate lines, you know, I'm okay with that. You know, that lady's a separate line, 10.5 or whatever she is, and then our everyday accountant's a separate line, I'm okay with that. I wouldn't lump them together.
You lump them together.
I wouldn't lump them together, I keep them separate.
Okay, well, they're separate now.
And
Yeah.
that's, you know that's 10.5, I'm the second next one now.
The 10,125.
The 7,500 is not now gone down.
So it's 19,500.
This thing doesn't automatically total, does it? Strange.
So it goes to 19.5 from 15, a little over 15.
I can't save this as a spreadsheet, or I can, then I know what I'm doing.
You save as you go, is that how this thing works?
I'll leave it the way it is, but
Working on
this is
It
strange.
saves as it goes.
All right. So we're done with accounting, it's at 19.5. Does this match 650?
If none of it's totaling, then probably none of it's totaling.
Yeah, that looks right. Okay. So if we go to other contractual services, tax collector, there's our 2%. I don't know if that can be lowered.
It's,
Okay. So we get rid of this. Get rid of that guy. Certification, that's not a big deal. Webmaster support, I have, just as a point of reference, I've spoken to one guy, he's been helping me do with this now. He's at $40 an hour. And then he said his normal customers are $35 an hour, but he's putting us at 40 because he needs to understand why it's so complicated. And I'm like, well, send me your best quote and we'll talk. But there will be, at this point I've requested 2 quotes from 2 different webmasters. And if anybody knows any other webmasters, let me know. I have not bothered Hans with an official RFQ because it's such a small amount of money. So I'm okay with leaving this. I'm guessing, is this what it was last year? Do we know this for fact?
4,500?
Yeah,
That's
okay.
what the budget was. But I don't know what the actual expense was.
Yeah, I don't either. That's what I'm. You can look it up in your QuickBooks.
Yeah, I know what the password is, I'll give it to you.
All right. Travel per diem. I guess is that's mileage for Shirley. Yeah, that can stay there.
And the mileage is post office runs and whatnot? Is that what that is?
Yeah, the collecting the mail, purchasing supplies, whatever needed
Hmm.
for the business up in the board.
So I don't see an issue there. Mailing, communications, 5410. I don't see any point in changing that. I don't know what this means. Shared internet cost.
We split it in the other boards.
And
I can't hear you. Say that again?
We're probably sharing it with the other two community groups out here,
We are.
like the mailboxes out front.
Didn't know that. Okay. All right. I'm not gonna worry about it. Insurances, don't think there's any point in trying to change that. Especially in the state of Florida, because we know which way that's gonna go.
Well, the only question would be if Lola has insurance on the dams, why do we have insurance on the dams?
Don't know what's in the insurance policy. I've never seen it. It'd be a good question. Let me make a note.
It's my understanding that because we are a governing body, that we have to have insurance for
Perfect,
those.
perfect. So why does Lola spend the money on it?
Because they, yes, they do own
But if
part
we're
of the
paying
dam.
for the insurance, and I don't doubt it, we're a government agency, whatever we need to pay for it. I don't have a heartburn with it, but why is Lola turning around paying for insurance too? That's one question.
They're insuring the boat ramps.
They insure the dam too. I just went to the annual meeting. They said they insure the dams.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I
I'm just saying, it
understand
sounds redundant to me. That's all I'm
And I
saying.
understand it's $1 million policy.
I can't remember. It's pretty pricey. Alton, you remember what the number was?
Seemed like at their annual meeting, it was 6,000 a year.
Yeah, it sounded pretty pricey. For an association
Yeah,
that
I'm
doesn't
not
have any
sure
money.
it's apple and apple coverage though, you know.
And I understand, agree.
It's not.
But it's 50% ownership. And we need to be careful on what we're doing here too. That's, on this subject brings it up, like, Debbie Barrett called me madder than hell because, I approved for Hans to do some looking into, us taking the whole dam over. Well, that started with Carol talking with Hans, and then she told me that she talked with Kay Manley and got it, it was all right with her, and she got it approved with the Lambston board, or Lake Lot board, and then Debbie called me just jumping my butt, and she was right to a certain extent. All I can tell her is Carol told me she talked to Kay Manley, who's the right-hand man and does most of the work, I think, on that board. My impression, but apparently that just went all over him because I, as the chairman, didn't talk to him. All right, but now their discussion about this may be a good deal. You know, we take over the whole dam, they keep the boat ramp and that sort of thing. Hans has had some conversations with their lawyer at their request. And Carol's request. But my point is, we didn't talk about that in a meeting here at all. I don't remember us talking about it at all, did we?
No,
No.
it's something that just came up.
We're dependent, because we report to the county. We're independent.
And
They're not a
it,
special district, are they?
no, they're not.
They're not a special district.
No.
Yeah. So it's different.
Yeah, they still own part of the dam, and I think in this case, Hans, you can join in here if you want to anytime. But I think in this case, it might be a darn good idea from their standpoint and our standpoint too, because us being a government entity, you know, if everything turns bad, we've got limited on what our payables would be. You know, there's a limit on that. Where they're not.
No.
I hope not.
They existed before the district was created in 1986, and they're a private HOA. And so I don't know this for certain, but I believe the reason why you have co-ownership is because at the time it was created, they didn't want to. The HOA had already been in existence, so then you get into eminent domain and all that. So I going back, that's kind of what I can gather why there's co-ownership. But to Alton's point, the district is a governmental entity protected by sovereign immunity up to a certain limit of liability, whereas the HOA is private. I mean, there's unlimited liability if something were to happen. So it doesn't really make sense for them to hold on to the dams. Now, the boat ramps is a different question, because if that becomes the district's property, then it has to be open to the public. Whereas if the boat ramps are held by a private entity, they can stay private. But,
It already is, it's not private anyway.
well, yes, but it could be enforced as private.
Last week, we had 3
Yeah.
different boats let up. Didn't have these, don't live on the lake, and they were all, I confronted all 3 of them. They don't care.
No, but you could enforce it if you want to, whereas if the district owned it, you can't. I mean, they would have the right to do it. I mean, I know what you're saying, but
Did you call Lake County? Did you call Sheriff's Office?
Call who?
Sheriff's Office?
so the issue is that it doesn't make sense for the HOA to have that liability. It doesn't, and so their attorney recognizes that. And my understanding, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Go ahead. I'm
The
sorry.
reason I didn't is it came in and informed me that we are supposed to assume that they have, come in here, that they have a key, and that they pay for it. I'm not supposed to confront them about that. So I know what I'm gonna do. That's what I was told.
So how would they come in here without it? Yeah, that's,
But
Well, I can tell you the last one, and this kid's got me $80,000, I mean, it was
all decked out.
top of the line. He sits in our, in the boat ramp, waiting for somebody to come to let him in. So I pulled up, and I asked him, you know, I said, is he gonna be fishing with you? I don't know for sure. I said, well, if not, then you're trespassing. If he gets on the boat and goes fishing with you, the guy pulls up, he lives, right, I mean, I watched everything, but I think he's you. He come to let him in, so I confronted him. And he said, well, my wife and I are going to take come and get the truck and the trailer, and we're going to take it to our house. He's just going to go down the lake, and then I'm going to get on the boat with him. Half hour later, he's fishing by himself. Just, you know, there's nothing but a bunch of people on this lake that lie all the time. It's a bunch of crap.
That's insane, crazy. Okay.
Okay, insurance. We're back to insurance. It's nearly the yellow line. So move on, insurance. So what are we gonna do then?
I think it should stay, right, unless somebody's.
Leave it where it is, it's not a significant amount of money.
Yeah, let's leave it alone.
Hey, I don't mean to be a wise guy here, but typically the way you do a budget, you know, whoever's doing the budget, they would contact our carrier, whoever that is, and say, do you expect any increases in 2024? You know? It means we don't have that, we just gotta leave it like it is.
When they review it, real quick, I think it's going to I was told we really don't care because they want one, but as far as really questioning what we say we gotta have, everything. Whether it's true or not.
I didn't understand your point.
Just that if we just added 5% to everything that we got and submit the budget, that would be all well and good. Whether it is or not, I don't know.
Well, let's just go on through the line item at a time, I think. You're right though, Mike, we could go back, we've got time, we don't have to put a preliminary budget on the website till in June. All right? So we could go back and we could do some checking on some of these things, like insurance. All right?
So Mike, are you volunteering?
Sounds like it might be a possibility.
Well, Janet's not gonna be here for the next meeting, and Carol's not gonna be here for the next meeting. So, Carol,
If somebody gives me the information, who I contact, I'll be more than happy to take care of it.
I have that right here in this green book. Anything you want to know about anything?
All I want to know is a
How to
contact
access-
number. I don't need a
How to
phone
access
book.
QuickBooks.
You're the man big enough to carry that book.
Okay, so moving on.
Well, I'm just going down the list, so like miscellaneous repairs and maintenance. I don't quite know what that is.
That was mowing.
Well, mowing is line right here.
I'm sorry. Okay.
That might be Tim Lee. He said 4,500 a month, so what is that?
Be what?
Times 12. 54,000, that's Tim Lee. Scheduled monthly maintenance is
Okay, so
Tim Lee.
that's Tim's contract.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not sure what the,
And is that the correct amount?
yeah,
Okay.
That's probably some of my fishing money.
that's 10.
And then
I think,
I haven't given up on it yet, but I've got quotes and there's, I don't think we've ever voted on repairing the boards on
We
this
have not.
south dam. Your money's here, your fish money's down here.
I think the wood repair South Lake needs to be stricken because any wood repair would be under miscellaneous repairs and maintenance. So I think that 54603, we can strike that.
I agree. I'd make that 0 and just call that, it'd fall under that 30,000 category. And I know we're not here to talk about the board repairs though, but we need more than one quote. I know we're not talking about that one.
I have that budgetary quote just so we know what the number might be.
Yeah, so like Ms. Poitevin was saying, it could clearly fall in that $30,000 range.
Okay. but
I'd
think-
take that
didn't-
whole line out.
Didn't we just say that this 54, this miscellaneous?
54 is a hard number. We're talking about the 30,000 above it.
That's
Right.
Tim's contract.
the
Right.
30 above that is not.
Right. So if we're going to do wood repair on the South Lake Dam, it should fall under the top category, shouldn't create a new line.
So you want to take the 15,000?
So I'll just make it
Correct.
45,000, is that what we're saying?
I take the 15,000 out, we'll just assume it falls into 30.
And leave the 30. Leave the 30, take out delete the 15.
Promotional activities, I don't think that needs to change. That's just the advertising. Subscriptions. Blah, blah, blah. Any thoughts here?
To me, that should be year-over-year stuff. What did we do last year? Did we use that money? Did we go over?
It's printer paper and all kinds of odd stuff, probably for surely.
Well, it was 175 and 1,000, those are the same numbers.
Yeah.
But no, the Florida Association of Special Districts is something we just got into at somebody's request last year. And I don't know even what it is. So do we use it? I kind of doubt it.
I agree.
If we didn't use it, get rid of it.
So that's worthy of looking to get rid of.
We didn't use it?
Does the special handbook require that we be a member of something?
No,
Okay, then we get rid of it.
I mean, I'm just one person, but
I probably broke when Janet gets this back, it probably destroys her macro, because I deleted that row.
Where you wrote delete this line, can you change that $1,000 to zero?
Yeah, I'll just change it to a 0. So I guess this drops to 185.
we didn't give Hans a raise when we were back in those people that we have hired. Did you want one? Nothing like putting you on the spot, is it? Do you have a feel, just out of curiosity, we had 60,000 in our budget. Do you have a feel for where you're at? I don't. That's all right.
It's in QuickBooks.
It's in the book.
It's really hard to.
What row are you on, Alton? Where's that at? I don't see
Last
it.
way back, I screwed you around. I went the wrong way.
Went the wrong way.
Let's go, yeah, let's go back. Whatever we're paying him, we get more than our money's worth from us, because we don't pay him that.
Legal, up here, 70,000, all right.
I'll leave it.
I mean, I know that that number came from the prior treasurer just estimated for, Hanson, what may be required of additional legal duties, but I mean, I know last year I know last year the actual charges went close to 70.
So if we got that number, at least we say.
If you look, oh yeah, yeah, so it won't be more than that, and it wasn't anywhere near that, but I just know that it got increased to that because of the expected legal fees when Hanson gets into doing their work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But,
Okay.
I mean, last year wasn't close to 70.
do you want to recommend a number, or should we
Can you leave it for now?
just leave it?
yeah.
I'm willing to leave it.
I don't really know what to expect from what is going to happen, with Hanson.
Okay.
Now, I don't know that this number here matches. I'd have to add it all up. Might take a few minutes. I'd like to convert this to a real spreadsheet that I can operate. This one's like blowing my mind. Normally, you can double click on it and it shows you everything in the total. So then infrastructure, what does that mean exactly? 80,000? Nobody knows, because I don't.
Yeah, nothing else is, capital outlay, it's under capital outlay.
I think that's where our engineering fees are gonna be. And that's where we talked about the 569,000.
So why we have the other camera?
But why can't we just make it say what it is?
Exactly.
I don't know. It was something to do with audits. There's another line item that balances things out, because you're supposed to take whatever your starting money was, and you're supposed to
Well, I have a note here, and I
put a
don't,
number in there and balance it out.
I don't know where this note came from, but you're supposed to adjust this number if my note is correct,
Adjust to balance
the
budget,
907.
capital outlay.
But I reserve the right to be wrong.
Yeah, I don't remember what they
So what are we doing about the infrastructure?
Well, I just wanted to know what it was.
Yeah, and why is it 80,000?
I don't even know where it came from.
And we don't know who put it in the budget?
No, I don't know.
Well, I will admit some guilt here. Last year, I required a discussion to take place on every one of these line items. And some people didn't like that, but still, they did. And I wrote notes down about what does that mean, infrastructure, CIP, and that sort of thing. And I intended to find those notes on our last year's budgeting process, and I did not get to that. But somewhere in the last year's budgeting time frame, which would have been May or June, that was clarified as to what all of these line item things like that are. Because one of them is just a catch-all that balances.
So you believe each of those are appropriate, you just don't have the exact explanation?
Yeah, but I don't know whether the numbers are, like the number for one of these line items has got to be the 500 and something thousand for engineering.
'Cause
Is that on there?
well, I see dredging and I see engineering.
It's probably,
500,000 at the top. Those are the first things we did.
You know, I think you're right. Well, I think it wasn't dredging
we had 100,000 for dredging, engineering dredging.
for last year.
Yeah,
There's no way we're gonna spend 500,000 on dredging.
Spent $500,000 on dredging this year.
I said, there's no way we're gonna spend 500,000 on dredging right now in a year. That makes no sense.
I 100% agree. We don't need 500,000 in dredging.
no, and
We don't need 80,000 infrastructure either.
But nobody can tell us what infrastructure is.
I think that might be that catch-all deal though, where it's a balance.
Like the wood on, like what he's talking about, putting the wood on the dam, that's infrastructure.
Well, I can
I
put
don't-
here,
I don't think that's what it is, so.
we what do you think infrastructure is? We'll say a adjustment, a budgetary adjuster.
I've never done a budget that had adjusters in it.
No. You're talking
Yeah.
the county infrastructure is usually roads, drainage.
Yeah, I know, but there was some goofy things that they talked about last year, that one of these big items that's got big dollars in it is
I mean, like,
strictly, I think that's engineering, up there on that 5630 infrastructure CIP fund, I think that's engineering.
okay.
But.
Can I
did we
put
have-
parentheses
did we not have-
engineering?
Did we not have engineering over here?
Engineering is 2 lines below. Come down 2 lines, Tom.
Yeah.
Right there.
Then why would, we don't need it twice, do we? Makes no sense.
Unless it's that catch-all category that balances everything out. One of these big items, big dollar items, is a catch-all category that just
All right.
balances.
So if we change infrastructure
Well, it says
to,
that down here at the bottom of it, doesn't it?
well, let's, so if we look at engineering, what do we, that's project engineering, i.e. permitting, labor, detailed design, all that from Hanson, right?
Yeah.
For 2024. Do we have a good number for that?
Well, that was the 10% that we said was 569,000
Okay.
for just the north end.
That's probably not unreasonable, right?
So half of that would be a reasonable number? Is that what we're saying?
Why half of it?
Well, I can change this to 560.
That's what I would do.
Okay.
I don't know, did we?
Did we not put 560,000 at the very top? Did Alton not say just round it to 550 and call it a day?
Up here? Right here, engineering fees.
There it is, 569.
So that doesn't need to be under capital outlay.
So this guy can go away. We'll make him 0 for now, till we understand. Dredging,
Alton, do you suppose that infrastructure amount that you're thinking of, is that, or the way you're talking about it, would that be like a contingency
Yes,
line item? So can we perhaps label that as contingency with some kind of notation to circle back and after you get your notes and see what that's supposed to be?
yeah, because we have reserved for contingency right here above it, right?
Reserved for, yeah.
You make it bigger.
So on last year's budget that's on the website, that infrastructure line item, it says in parentheses CIP fund, and then it was 400,000. So
I think that's what Tom was getting at when we talked about dredging, and it got kind of heated in one of our meetings, or heated's not the right word. It got exciting. And he said, well, you got 500,000. Well, no, in the budget, we had 100,000 for engineering and slash dredging. But that infrastructure CIP was 400,000. So the 400 plus the 100 is where he came up with the 500.
I mean, I'm taking them at literal, and infrastructure to me means like road repair, electricity, plumbing. We don't have any of that.
Well, we gotta define it. I need to find,
Yeah,
I knew I
okay.
should have done that homework.
So we'll leave it there now,
I
but,
probably would have been more fruitful on my
but,
stuff, I would have.
so can the dredging number go down? We know that's got to go down.
Yeah, I would take the dredging number down. I wouldn't completely eliminate it, because what if something happened and somebody got, needed to be dredged?
Well, can this say dredging and weed removal? Would that be a better number?
No, I'd keep them separate,
Okay.
because we don't dredge that often, and weed removal is an ongoing.
What do you-
Well,
function.
let's talk about dredging a little bit, because we're not gonna do Hazelwood Hole.
I love to talk about dredging.
Are we gonna do Hazelwood Hole?
Absolutely not.
Okay, and the county is still in hot pursuit.
We are
on
still
that.
talking to the county about that in another group.
Okay, so let's not get that brought up in
Yeah, to me, Hazelwood Hole is a completely different animal.
okay, but then if you take that and you go back to dredging discussions, then it turns out, from what I'm understanding, that particularly on the North Lake, that some of these fingers that quote needed dredging was just weeds. It wasn't the depth of water.
That is
in
correct.
People's docks.
But I'm saying I wouldn't completely eliminate it, because there is a chance, like we had 3.5 inches rain today, 3.75. There's a chance something could give way and somebody's finger could be impacted. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, that's what we had, some 100,000 for engineering slash dredging. But
So I
dredging
wouldn't
doesn't
completely
need to be-
eliminate it.
Dredging needs to be getting dirt out of the lake and or moving it to a deeper part of the lake. So you don't have to pay to dispose of it. But that was Tim Lee's idea.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. We don't eliminate the line item, but it needs to be significantly reduced. So it is just if there's an emergency, there's a little something there. But in the future, when we have more funds, we can increase it when we're actually getting closer to looking at actual dredging.
All right, 100 grand?
100's fine.
100's what we settled on last year, so,
I agree.
yeah. So infrastructure, I'll have to figure that out.
Reserve for contingencies? So does all this add up? We got-
I don't know whether that, see, that wasn't any money last year, Tom. It was only $1,565. It says max 5%. 5% of what? I guess it's 5% of that 343,000.
You're on 999?
No, it's 17,000. So I don't know what it. So if you put a question mark on things, you would say, what in the heck is infrastructure CIP fund? Engineering dredging, we did that. Debt service reserve for capital, what is that? Reserve for contingencies, what is that? And then total appropriated expenditures and ending balance. 1,441,300 goes back to the total estimated revenues and balances forward on the first page of 1,441,300. And I'm not sure how that balances, I'm not sure how that
Here's his
how that
balance.
balances.
The balance, the 999 is in two lines, though.
And that looks like accounting jargon to me. You know, so that's probably something Tom would know.
It is, there's something in here that's just whatever number you need to put there to make everything balance, because you're a non-profit organization, right? So somewhere you bury, you hide, that's the wrong word, but put a number down there, it makes the thing balance with income versus, yeah. And we know that's gonna be a bigger number this year because I say, it's gonna be a bigger, we'll take in more than we spend this year, right?
Yeah, how much carryover are we gonna have?
We're gonna have, we'll have probably $1 million. We got
Yeah.
$1.2 million now. We'll
But
have more
as soon
than-
as Hanson starts digging, though, all that carryover goes away.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
See this line here, the bottom line, how can we have a negative balance forward? That makes no sense to me.
That's going to be totally different, because we've changed all the numbers.
Well, I don't want to waste our time now, but I think these numbers this thing needs to be copied into a true Excel environment and fixed.
Yes.
It may serve purposes, but it's not working for me.
Well, this
Yeah, I
last
believe the
year,
idea behind it was there'd only be one document. I don't know if you've ever done budgets before, but everybody has a budget and everybody's got a different version. The idea behind this is there's only one version, which makes sense. Now, I agree with you, Tom. I'd switch it over to Excel so it would do the math for you.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, yeah, then you can check it. But I see what Janet was doing, and it made sense. She wanted everybody's input, but
So perhaps you want to erase the total, and the set 1,781,000 and then 998,000. Or just delete those until we have the real number that should be.
yeah, at some point, but I
Yeah.
gotta figure out exactly the spreadsheet here. 'Cause if we know our input, if we know our revenue is $1 million, what did I say, $1,032,000 from that other? I didn't know.
1068.
Yeah, the true number is 1068. So if that's this number, put the commas in there.
But you got additional revenue coming in. You just had a starting balance of $1 million roughly, and you're gonna take in 1.2 million.
Right.
Yeah, it's like we need another line for 23 carryover.
And I think that's what this is intended to be up here on the first line is fund balance carry forward, estimated 460. So where's the 460 over here? I don't see it.
Yeah, so the carry forward, yeah, 998. And this would be from 23, or from 22. Well, we're doing 24's budget, so this needs to be 2023.
Yep.
Unless I'm out in left field. So that 998. So I think this would be,
If we had a CPA, they would tell us all this stuff.
we have,
Well, if we didn't have one, we'd want him here for nights like this.
Huh?
If we had one, we'd want him here for nights like this.
We'd want him here
For nights like this. Going over the budget, we want him here. Talking about the dam, I don't think we want him here.
so if we add the 1,068,000 plus this number up here, that's what we're carrying forward?
that's probably a reasonable number, 998.
Yeah, here we're at 1.2 now.
So that's 266, 2,066,000. So I don't know, I'm gonna put it in there and we can debate later. Figure out how to change it to black.
Up to the very, very top. In the middle of the bar, all the way over to, yeah. There you go. Text color.
I don't think that any of that might be in here, but I don't think so.
File, make a copy.
This is that other report I was talking about that's gotta be done, along with the audit. That. And then there's a username and
Save to
password.
drive. No, I don't wanna save it. I have no idea where that's.
Never seen
I haven't either, but you see it's, what is this? I don't know what this is. Interest income was $3,000 last year.
Mark, do you know how to save this thing to my hard drive? Because it looks like it's only going to the cloud.
Yeah, it's on the Bluetooth, it's supposed to stay.
Okay, I don't know what that is. Clay Electric. That's what I was looking for. I tried to click on things to pay the bill, and there it is. It asked me for passwords and all. Look at it. You think I know that password?
It's on an EFT, so you need to go and do it.
You still gotta go and click on the thing, and it comes up with questions and stuff that you gotta put in. I guess.
So I thought they do it automatic. It's set up to be done automatic.
I don't know. I agree with you, but when you forwarded me the electric bill, it had a deal on there that to pay, you click on that box and
So do we need to vote on something, or are we happy, or sad, or?
No, we don't have to vote on anything. However, if you wanted to, you could, but I don't think we've got enough information to do that.
Well, we got some questions. You don't know insurance, don't know the accounting fee, not 100% sure on the lawyer fee.
We know all your fee. Yeah. So, what we need to do is before the next meeting, which is June 4th,
Right around the corner.
we need to figure these things out. There are questions about what are these line items and that sort of thing, and see if we can't figure out how all this meshes together. And Janet can't go on vacation until she gets it done. Oh, that's Thursday or Friday this weekend.
Next week will be gone.
Do you have your spreadsheet of that QuickBooks thing? Or your,
No, I didn't bring the thumb drive, no. All right, so what are we saying then? We'll try to figure this, how to answer these questions, about what some of these lower line items are. And then we've still got to decide on insurance,
And we don't know what the county fee is.
accounting.
I'm okay with leaving the attorney at 70 grand.
Well, at least don't talk about it in front of him, you know.
I think last year.
He might quit like some other people have quit, you know?
I think last year the fees came somewhere between 40 to 50, I think. And I don't think it's changed much.
Yeah, but Hanson on the corner, hold on, line.
Yeah.
We're talking about the 2024 budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's that. So I talk about the county fee, we'll know that as soon as I get y'all in. And then the other is the insurance fee, y'all get contact and call.
Well, we talked about an accounting fee and an auditor fee. And we come up with 12,000 for auditor and 7,500 for accounting.
Yeah,
Where we
the
at?
auditor fee, I think is probably pretty accurate, but I think the other is a whack. I
The-
don't think you know what, if you have any idea what account.
Okay, well, so we need to figure that out. And the insurance, and we took the special district out. And then we've got to find out from the infrastructure on down what those things really are. And then we've got to estimate the beginning, what's our position going to be at the start, fund balance carry forward.
You know, that 900 grand or 995, well, you have to have probably about close.
Well, it's going to be, yeah, you're right. It's going to be, yeah. But when you take that, then you add the other income you got coming in, then you subtract the expenses we've got from here, it's going to grow. And I think one of those last line items that's big dollars has got to be what that balance is, where that balance comes from.
What is our outstanding balance of Hanson for phase 1 and phase 2 now? We got to check that.
I could tell you that if I could find, let me see, where is, April, May, see? You can do that. Okay, I just happened to find it. April 25th, 2023. You're supposed to say, that's impressive. I wouldn't have thought you would looked at that kind of detail.
Alton, that's
why you're the
impressive. We
chairman.
would never have thought you would look at those details.
Here's what we got, Jerry. We've got, we had 3 different tasks. There's still $12,000 in the, no, wait a minute. Here's the total there. So there's $12,000 left in task one, but there wasn't, but, I mean, and then in the task two, we've spent 92, well, task, which was really task one, 92,000 of 105. So that's 87%. So that's about 13,000 left on that. And then we've only spent 50,000 of the 142,000. This was the last phase with the additional surveying and all that sort of thing. But they've done some, they just hadn't got the invoices in yet. So that number will go up probably pretty considerably. So we've got 92,000 that we haven't paid on that second. So there's 12,000 or so on the first major contract we had with them.
So that's 150.
140, well, call it 150 that we paid. 154. 154, 397 and 8 cents.
So our carryover is 900-some thousand, what it's going to be. That minus Hanson's.
Yeah, Hanson will be, yeah, pretty much.
We're at 1.2, the other way down. Also, we got a monthly bill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so the 999.
I think that 13,000, that is still the grant funding from that first phase. And then the second phase, they've got surveying that they haven't got their invoice for. They got the one for the additional geotechnical stuff, and they don't have all of the engineering concept stuff from Bergman yet either. So there's still $90,000 quote to be billed on that. So yeah, if you total all of them up, we paid $154,000 of. We paid $154,000 of $259,000. There's the numbers right there. So we still have $105,000 to pay on those between now and the end of the year. Is what I would think someone went ahead. Yeah. All right. So where are we at then?
I think this is close.
Let's do this. You try to. Are you gonna tackle the accounting job of trying to make that spreadsheet work right?
I'm gonna
And then-
import this into Excel and I'll make it work.
Okay. Can you do that? You should be able to do that.
Well, I tried, but it won't let me.
But Janet will
You ought to be
be,
able to click on any total and it should show you the subtotals.
but Janet just gave us the ability to add comments. It's her working document and she
And
can
I've
set it up.
emailed everybody this document.
Okay, but what you just emailed us, we can't open because we don't have access. I just opened it and it says, because Janet controls it and so we can't share it.
So I need to close this one? Is that what you're saying?
If we're done with it, yeah, just close it and she'll get all of these changes. Yeah.
See if that doesn't fix it.
All right. If we can get that sorted out, and then I can get some definitions sorted out on these last items, does that pretty well get us
See,
to
it
where we-
shows it. Yep. Oh,
You might be able to open it now.
It's okay. Does that get us pretty much where we need to be?
Yes.
All right. Well, I can find the definitions out. I can't do it tomorrow, but I can try to do it Wednesday. Carol may have already talked to the insurance people. She's the one that normally does that. So she may have already talked to them.
Means she's not gonna be at the next meeting. I can do it just in case. It's no big deal.
Yeah, you want to know who it is too, though, right?
You can give it to me afterwards. You ain't gotta do it now. You can go ahead and adjourn us and we can start cleaning up.
Okay. Okay, anything else then? On the, all right. Jerry, you want to call for a motion to dismiss, or Larry, you want to second that? You don't want to second that? All right. All right,
Getting your check for, something like the 6th, but we have a meeting on the 5th, I can make it. But I'm the same citizen, finish doing the job.
okay.
Outside of that,
Hans, we've got, okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? We gotta sign your check. Shirley, I will give you this stuff, but I need to tell you a little bit about it.
You both get this.
Okay.